we're gonna talk about demonic queen Naamah, and we are making video about it. So we're gonna start from the beginning. First, I'm gonna elaborate on my experience with Naamah. Then I'm gonna say who Naamah is and who she represents. So Naamah, according to the lore, is the mother of the giants, who waited for the watchers on Mount Hebron and copulated with them, giving birth to the giants, hybrids between angels and humans. She is a sister of Tubal Cain and the daughter of Lamech. She is known to copulate with her brother sexually and commit all kinds of heinous acts, the greatest among which is basically her copulating with the angels and seducing the angels together with Lilith. In Cliphotic lore, she is known to also be in heaven and copulate with Adam to create evil spirits. Those two seem to be contradictory narratives, considering that if Naamah was in heaven with Adam copulating and giving birth to evil spirits, actually, I need to be more precise. According to the first narrative, Naamah wasn't in heaven copulating with Adam. She was on earth copulating with Adam after Adam and Eve broke apart for a few years. According to Kabbalah, Lilith and Naamah came to Adam every single night to copulate, and they gave birth to evil spirits while Adam was sleeping with them during the night. So, that is the story of how evil spirits are created according to Kabbalistic lore. There is also another story about Naamah waiting for the watchers and copulating with them, and being the daughter of Lamech and the sister of Tubal Cain, which are descendants of Cain the elder. So, if you don't know, in Kabbalah there are actually two Cains, two important Cains. One is a descendant of Cain, known as Tubal Cain, and another is Cain the elder, the brother of Abel, who committed the first murder. So, when I am referring to Naamah being a sister of Cain, I am referring to Cain the younger, a descendant of Cain who, according to legend, founded the first cities. Now, why are those two narratives important? So, on the surface level, narratives seem to contradict, but in a deeper esoteric level, they don't contradict at all. You see, let's talk about Naamah first and foremost. So, Naamah is, according to the lore, present, as I explained, in two different stories. One story is her and Lilith copulate with Adam to create evil spirits. And another story doesn't talk about Naamah as a demon. It talks about Naamah as a human who is born from the seed of Cain, the elder. So basically, if we wanna see what is the connection between the stories, the explanations seem to be really simple. Naamah human is an incarnation of Naamah the spirit, who copulated with Adam. So, let me explain. So, Naamah was one of the first demons given birth to by Lilith. She copulated together with Lilith alongside Adam to create even more demonic spirits. Later on, Naamah, the dark spirit descendant of Lilith, incarnated into a human body and participated in seduction of the Watchers. Now, all of this can be interpreted literally, it can be interpreted symbolically. It depends on how you want to see it. But basically, Naamah is in the lore one of the few demonic spirits shown to be able to physically incarnate, and one of the few demonic spirits who 100% had human connections, human lives, human life experience. And she is probably the only demon in entire Kabbalistic lore with a clear incarnation I know of into human body, into human flesh. All other spirits of Qliphoth are basically just earthbound shades, dark energies. Naamah had a clear human experience. She also ruled a Qliphothic sphere of Naamah, also known as Black Earth, the first Qliphothic sphere. Now, we have to understand what Qliphothic spheres are. Qliphothic spheres are, contrary to popular belief, not necessarily words. They are not words, not worlds. Instead, they are levels of energy. So, according to Kabbalah, there are two different aspects of God creation. The right side, or Sephirotic tree, and the left side, known as other side, or Qliphotic tree. Qliphotic tree represents everything which is impure and dark, while Sephirotic tree represents everything which is pure and light. Both are reflections of the divine nature. The right side of the tree, the light side of the tree, is facilitated and co-created with divine emissaries known as angels, archangels, while the left side of the tree, the dark side of the tree, is basically co-created by also angels, specifically Samael, the archangel of poison, the poison of God, Samael, who is also known as Yaldabaoth / Demiurge. So, Yaldabaoth is actually one of the titles of Samael in the Gnostic texts. So, God of Old Testament is not Yaldabaoth. Samael is Yaldabaoth. And Moses definitely didn't prophesy in the name of Samael. He prophesied in the name of Tetragrammaton, and Tetragrammaton isn't entity at all. It's a code to access the source, but that's a completely different story for another video. Let's return to Naamah. So Naamah rules Lilith / Naamah, the first level of negative energy. And she's the only dark spirit with a clear human incarnation, according to the lore. And her existence seems to predate her human experience. Let me explain. So, as I said earlier, Naamah was first impure spirit, dark spirit, together with Lilith. She copulated with Adam and gave birth to other evil spirits. And then she incarnated as a human and participated in seduction of the Watchers. We explained it previously. But now we're gonna talk after we cleared the lore. Now we're gonna talk about her lore with the Watchers. Because this seems to be a really unknown fact. So, there is a lot of pairing between Ashmedai and Naamah, and people know they are related, but the nature of the relationship is basically covered in mystery. And it took me a really long time to figure out what is a relationship between Ashmedai and Naamah. So there are many variations of this story. In some variations, they are basically couple. In another variations, they are mother and son. And I wanted to find what is the truth. I wanted to find what version of the story is more correlating with the sources, more correlating with rabbinical text, with the commentary we have surviving. And basically, the story became pretty clear as research continued. According to the lore, Naamah is not consort of Ashmedai. She is the mother of Ashmedai. Ashmedai's father is actually the watcher known as Shadmon or Shadmon. So I performed an experiment in which I called Shadmon to see does such a watcher exists, and I got a really powerful experience. A really destructive, warlike, angelic energy came through, and it was one of the most powerful experiences I ever had. So that way, I definitely confirmed that Naamah is indeed the mother of Ashmedai, not the other way around. So, once we cleared all of that lore of Ashmedai and Naamah, we have to basically understand what Naamah taught humanity, what one can learn by working with Naamah. We're gonna examine all of the aspects of Naamah work right now, after we covered the initial introductory lore. Well, Naamah taught people singing, dancing, sorcery, sexuality, promiscuity, and idol worship. Now, when we say idol worship, there are two aspects to that. So, we first need to understand how paganism/idol worship came to be. And that has to be covered in this video because in order to understand what is the point of idolatry and why it is forbidden, we have to understand that in order to understand what Naamah teaches. So basically, this is how idol worship originated, according to the Judaic lore. So the watcher Shemiyaza came to earth with 200 of his brothers, and he taught mankind the secret of the divine names, right? And so people started venerating those spirits. But also, what happened is Shemyaza taught people how to infuse the objects of this earth, the earthly objects, with the power of the divine names he taught them. Because remember, the fundamental lesson Shemyaza taught mankind was the secret of the divine names. That was the most powerful thing Shemyaza taught humanity. And so, basically, the thing Shemyaza taught humanity, the leader of the Watchers who came down to Earth, the leader of the so-called fallen angels, which were not fallen at all, but we're gonna talk about it in another installment of this video. Basically, the most fundamental thing he taught to all of his disciples in a spiritual sense is how to use divine names and then infuse the physical object with energy of those divine names. And then what people did later on is after they would infuse objects with the divine names, statues with the divine names, they started venerating those statues in order to easier connect with the divine names. However, because divine energy is not meant to reside in a really limited earthly vessels, that procedure basically corrupted the power of the divine names, and it became altered, and another spirits started dwelling in those statues, and then the entire thing kind of went off the rails. And this is why idolatry is basically a bad thing most of the time, because majority of the people who were polytheists, pagans, uh, they didn't understand that basically all of the gods they are venerating are the aspects of the same supreme energy. That wisdom is still preserved in the Vedas, but to the majority of the people who practice polytheism, they just see a bunch of isolated gods and personalities, and it's kind of funny. Like invisible men and women arguing. It's really funny. But they are also, in a modern world, pagans who definitely understand that all of those spirits are part of the one whole, and they are really spiritual people, but they are a minority. Now, a lot of people will hate me for saying this, but basically, and fundamentally, that's the reason why paganism is banned in the Bible. Because people most of the time anthropomorphize those divine energies too much, and it loses point. It becomes funny. It becomes intellectually and spiritually infantile, and it basically loses the direction. So, what Watchers and Naamah fundamentally taught is how to infuse objects with the power of the divine names, which then turned into idolatry, by the way. So, after we cleared idolatry part, now we're gonna talk about Naamah teaching people singing and dancing. Now, why would that be recorded in the Bible? Obviously, there is a bunch of singers and dancers, but why would Book of Enoch, which is a text I am referring mostly in this video, talk about Naamah specifically, and her singing and her dancing? Because it doesn't talk about singing and dancing in a mundane sense. It talks about singing and dancing in the context of ritual possession and union with the darker forces through singing and dancing. So Naamah taught ritual singing and ritual dancing. That was her sham. Okay. She also taught people promiscuity and sex magic. Obviously, that is self explanatory for anyone who did that. And she also corresponds with abortions. Now, that is fundamentally true, that Lilith and Naamah correspond to abortion, and that's something they stand for. Now, there is a aspect to that which is really controversial. Caliphatic energy is really dark, it's really intense, it's really destructive. And the majority of the women who heavily work with caliphatic energy become infertile as a consequence. The same is true for men. They kinda either lose the ability to reproduce or are not interested in reproducing. There is a connection between the two. And basically, there is also, outside of that mundane part, there is also esoteric part, which is when you work with those darker forces, it basically requires you to give energy to Citrara, to give energy to the other side in order to be empowered back. And that's a really dark, destructive, risky process, and many die. So that is also a reference to abortion in a spiritual sense. Because you can be spiritually aborted, you can be destroyed. This is a dangerous path. a really dangerous path. So we covered all of the things Naamah taught according to the lore and what it means, what Naamah can teach. She can also teach money, magic, and work with spirits of the Nephilim / giants who died in the Great Flood. But that is self-explanatory. I think in the occult community, majority of the people know that you can learn how to work with spirits of the giants who died in the flood, the Nephilim, uh, by working with Naamah. Is basically self-explanatory. And for people who don't know the context, basically what happened later is after Naamah seduced the Watchers who came down to Earth, she gave birth to giants with the woman who followed her, and then God had to send the flood in order to save the life on Earth because giants were destroying everything. And so, what is the point of this tale? And that is going to be the end of this video, as far as lore is concerned. The point of the tale about Naamah is she will teach you the great knowledge. She will teach you and give you the great information. But if you abuse that information and use it to destroy life on Earth, to destroy the nature and the world around you, if you become too destructive, you will create a great flood in your life. You will kill yourself. And you will have no ark to jump in like Noah did. You will call it upon yourself and you will be destroyed. And that is the point of Naamah. Working with her is basically a two-bladed sword. It's a double sword. She will give you a really powerful knowledge, but if you use it recklessly, you can die. You can destroy yourself pretty quickly. That is the point of the story of the Watchers and Naamah and Agrat and Lilith. Everyone who caused the great flood, according to the lore, what it really means is those spirits and energies are really powerful, but if you use the knowledge they give you wrong, they will fucking cause havoc. Not because they want to destroy you, but because you basically called it upon yourself. Now, Naamah corresponds to the colors red and black. She basically is called by using red and black candles and inviting her to come by the power of the names of God. The names of God which can be used in conjuration of Naamah are Sabaoth, Adonai, and El Shaddai, in my personal experience. So, how to call Naamah? Short tutorial. You raise the sacred space by any means necessary. There are multiple ways. You can use my Black Sun meditations. You can use the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. You can pray to the source to raise the sacred space. You can cast the circle of salt. Whatever you like, right? I gonna upload this video together with my raising of the sacred space tutorial, so you have multiple versions. But fundamentally, you raise the sacred space first, and then you call Naamah with the following conjuration. I call you Naamah by the power of Adonai. I call you Naamah by the power of El Shaddai. I call you Naamah by the power of Sabaoth. Now, why using those three divine names? Those are three divine names whose energy is the most conducive to conjuring Naamah. in my experience. Now, basically, just for those who are not informed, the divine names are codes to the aspect of source energy. So every divine name has a meaning, and when you pronounce a divine name, you generate the energy which corresponds to that meaning. So when you are calling a spirit by the power of the divine names, you basically are giving energy to the spirit to manifest faster. That is the point. You call her by the power of those three divine names until you feel her presence with you in the circle. Now, you can use the sigil of Naamah, or you can draw the name of Naamah on a piece of paper and basically just scry at it, look at it. You can use mere incense, that is also recommended. Uh, Before you do evocation of any spirit, including Naamah, and before you start the ritual, before you start the sacred space and everything, what I advise is for you to basically learn to meditate and work on your energy centers and practice daily chanting of the divine names until you learn how to generate energy by them. So you choose any divine name of your choice from the Old Testament or Quran or Bible, it doesn't matter. And then you chant the divine name as a mantra. I personally use the name Adonai mostly, but other people use other divine names. You basically chant the divine name every day until you feel and learn to generate the energy when you recite the name. When you truly unlock the divine name, as you repeat the divine name, you will feel energy rising from your mouth. Not just a sound, but a vibration, energy, force, a pulsating life, basically. So, in order to master divine name, you have to repeat it around 1,000 times a day for like 3 months. So, my advice is before you do what I recommended, call Naamah by the power of the divine names. My advice is to basically master any divine name you like for about 3 to 6 months and work on your chakras. After you do that, you will be ready to do what I said, to cast a protective circle and call Naamah by the power of divine names I mentioned earlier. Once you call Naamah long enough sufficiently, which will usually be about a half of an hour, you will feel her presence, a really strong, powerful presence. And then my advice is to give her wine as a gift of gratitude and to invite the divine names to bless her, the divine names by which you called her. So you just say, I give you this glass of wine, Naamah, as a gift of gratitude, and I call the divine names by which I conjured you to bless you. And then you basically give her your request. It could be related to any of the things I listed: sexuality, money, or specific things she corresponds with. Work with an Nephilim, ritual dancing, ritual singing, initiation into Nahemoth/Lilith, the first degree of qliphothic energy, work with the Watchers, consecration of objects. Those are all the things the Naamah can teach. So, okay, guys, in this video, I explained in depth ritual to Naamah, how to prepare for it, and all the lore of Naamah. Just to keep things civil, what do? For about 3 to 6 months, you chant divine names daily and work on your chakras. Then, after 3 to 6 months, You call Naamah in the sacred space, in protective circle, by the power of divine names of Adonai and two other divine names you like. I mentioned two other divine names. You can use those three I already mentioned in the video, or you can find others you resonate with more. Any divine names would work because you will basically generate energy for the spirit to manifest faster with those names. The spirit will come. Any divine name would suffice. But you can use the three I already mentioned in the video. Call Naamah by the power of those names. Once her presence is known, by pure energy pressure and shift in the room, give her offering of wine, give her a blessing, bless her by the power of the divine names you already used, give her your request related to the things I already listed, and after that, do your ritual to her every night until your request is manifested. If you cannot handle to do it every night because Naamah's energy is really intense, do it a few times a week, as much as you can handle. In order to be able to do more rituals and to replenish yourself and your energy, my advice is to do daily chantings of the divine names, and that will make you capable of doing what I said, calling spirits more effectively. So that's all, guys. It was a little bit longer video. Talk to you soon. And I really enjoyed uh, giving you this small tutorial and lore overview. Talk to you soon.